All right, let's do this. This is Elliot, and here is your GRE question of the day. So pause the video, give this one a shot, and then we'll walk through it together. All right, so in this sentence, a little long, little sciencey, which is why the most important thing I think I'd want you to recognize here is that we get a nice shift word in the middle here that sets off two opposing pieces of the sentence, or the two opposing meanings in two parts of the sentence here. And I'm talking about the word but. Okay, so I hope everybody's eye was caught that we have anthropologists continue to debate something about community, and then we have a first bit of evidence, but we have this other bit of evidence. So the debate is really going to rest on what's going on with these two different pieces of evidence, right? The first is that some Homo species lived in cooperative collectives. So we see we're talking somehow about community at the beginning there. And then we get another mention. Cooperative collective is basically like a synonym for a community. But shift, we have some not community, right? We've got a contrasting fossil record that hints at others that persisted in blank lifestyles, and a little bit more to fill in this meaning around community. It says they were seemingly detached from communal bonds. Okay, so the meaning going on here, we're debating something about community in early human societies based on some evidence that they did live in communities and some evidence that some of them didn't live in communities. Okay, so with that in mind, we are debating the blank of community. We might anticipate something like the extent of community in early human societies. So great way to go about this: predict or anticipate, stick your own word into that blank that you can match up against the answers, so we don't get distracted too much by the wrong answers, convincing ourselves that they might be correct. So if you did anticipate a word like extent for that first blank, then the first choice in that left-hand column there, pervasiveness, might have looked good to you if, of course, you're familiar with the meaning of that word, pervasiveness. Pervasive means this widespread. So pervasiveness meaning the widespreadness, or the quality of being spread all throughout, or all over the place, is actually a good tight fit. But realistic to test day, maybe we didn't come up with that. So we're always going to rely on process of elimination in the verbal section. Let's compare it against our second and third choices. So that second choice, manifestation. Manifestation, kind of a funny, kind of a fancy word here, which means the physical representation or a concrete demonstration of a concept. Okay, so does that really match the debate about community that we're having here? I hope you'll agree, no, it really does not. We should be eliminating that one. Our third choice, though, existence, could be a much closer call. So I couldn't fault you if you were leaning towards this. Existence, maybe hopefully a pretty familiar word, but just meaning the quality of actually being, of being physically real. Not nothingness, right, is existence. Is that what the debate about community is here? Well, it says very matter-of-factly in the second sentence of the text that there's evidence that some Homo species lived in communities, and other evidence that some lived on their own, or lived detached from communal bonds. So is it really the existence that we're debating? Well, not really. Some of them did live in communities. These communities did exist. And so for that reason, I would want to be eliminating them. And even if I'm not completely confident of the meaning, coming back to say pervasiveness is probably the only one that fits. And it fits very well. Again, if some of them lived in communities and some of them didn't, it's really how widespread the communities are that anthropologists seem to be debating in this sentence. So some evidence they lived in cooperating collectives, but contrasting fossil records hint at others that persisted in blank lifestyles. So really valuable to have the but, because it sets us off from that first piece of evidence that says they did live in communities. So I want what goes in the second blank to suggest some kind of lifestyle that isn't community oriented, a non-communal lifestyle that lines up with the extra information in that last bit of the second sentence that they were seemingly detached from communal bonds. And what kind of lifestyle from those three words there is non-communal? Well, perhaps your eye was drawn right away to solitary. Okay, so we know like solitaire is a card game that you can play all by yourself, just one person. So solitary, meaning alone or isolated, is a really great fit here. But again, even if you weren't able to go right for that one, we'll always be proactive with the process of elimination. Collaborative, pretty much the exact opposite of what we're looking for, right? Before the but, we were talking about evidence that they lived in communities. And now if we're talking about opposing evidence, then collaborative, which basically means like in a community or working with others, does not really fit. So I hope you'll feel good agreeing that we're going to eliminate that one. Mercurial, generally a less familiar word to my students, but basically just means moody, okay? And someone who lives on their own, detached from communal bonds, could be moody, but really here it's just that they're not in a community that we're getting across, not anything extra about them being moody or mercurial. So we can definitely eliminate that one. Let's read it all the way through, make sure it makes sense. It says, anthropologists continue to debate the pervasiveness of community in early human societies. There is evidence that some Homo species lived in cooperative collectives, but contrasting fossil records hint at others that persisted in solitary lifestyles, seemingly detached from communal bonds. These are the correct answer choices. Great job, team. If you have more questions about this one or anything else about getting ready for the GRE, I hope you'll reach out to me. I'm at Herson Test Prep on Instagram. And until next time, happy studying.